When I'm asked where I preach, sometimes I get the sense that people care more about how many bodies are in the seats than anything else. All my life I've heard the unhealthy rating of churches by number in attendance, number of deacons, number of elders, number of ministers, and maybe even number in the collection plate or number of campuses that your congregation has accumulated. It becomes a type of census taking, like David in 1 Chronicles chapter 21, where God condemned that action of taking a census. David had some ulterior motives, and from his mistake, we learn this truth. Raw numbers are not an accurate rating of success or failure for God's people. Instead of finding false comfort in numbers, determine success by whether your congregation is accepting and accomplishing the work that God has given you to do, namely the spreading of the gospel and the upholding of the truth. Mark 16, verse 15, and 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 15 identify those two ideas as part of the work of the church. And it is a major part of what we accomplish together as the Lord's people. I want you to consider a statement from Phil Sanders in his book called Adrift. It says this: "The devil has for centuries promised people the world only to steal their souls. He is cunning, deceitful, and masterful at his art of seducing God's people away from the truth. With glitz and glamour speaking to our selfish inner selves, Satan seductively sells his successful improvements on God's will. Worldly people, listen. Some have tried the devil's way and found that by it they can attract a crowd. Fooled by what appears successful, Christians fool themselves, thinking there is a better way than God's, and fall headlong into the old error." Sanders is speaking of the many alterations to the teachings and practices of the church which congregations are making to accumulate a crowd in their buildings. Any concern over violation of God's will is dismissed, citing the greater good of bringing people to church. The greatest concern is to produce a false sense of success within the congregation. Numbers in the seats, numbers in the collection, numbers in leadership positions. If we have enough numbers, then no one can deny our success. And that's the false sense of security, the false sense of success. Don't buy that trash. It's not true. It's a lie. A congregation of the church is successful if they are following God's will, whether they are large or small. A congregation is successful if each Christian is speaking to the souls near them to share the gospel. A congregation is successful if they are creating opportunities for souls to hear the gospel and be saved by God. Rather than taking heart in numbers that have no bearing on your soul, ask yourself each day, what will I do today to help spread the gospel and uphold the truth? Not what did I do yesterday, not what will I do sometime in the future, but what will I do today to help spread the gospel and uphold the truth? If you have a really difficult time answering that question, it might be time to return to God's definition of success and God's definition of faithfulness. We will all be judged individually on the last day, according to 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 5. I must live each day faithfully to God if I'm going to face Him with hope on that day. And I can only face Him with hope if I'm doing what I can to spread the gospel and uphold the truth. Spread the gospel, uphold the truth, and face God with hope on the last day.